Adam Small here again from My Music Masterclass, and today we have another review for you. Today, Donner has sent us two electronic drum kits to review and compare. One of these kits is the DED-200, which I am sitting at right now, and the other is the DED-80, which is over there, and we'll get to that in a second. Now, before we get started with this review, we have to do the disclaimer, which we always do on this channel. Donner did send us these two electronic drum sets in exchange for the review that you're watching right now. That being said, they didn't tell us to say anything specific or coach us in any way. We are always unbiased on this channel. This review will be unbiased. Let's get to it. So let's start here. This is the DED-200 electronic drum set, right? For those of you who watch our channel, you'll remember that we reviewed this drum set. So we're not gonna go over every feature because I will link to that video in the description of this video. So you could check it out if you want to see how to change parameters and do all that fun stuff. The DED-80, which we'll get to next, is a kit that we haven't reviewed yet. And I want to show you the differences between these sets in case you're deciding between them or other kits or whatever. So you can basically see what you need and what's best for your setup. All right, so what do these drum sets come with, okay? They both come with sticks, a bag of hardware and a drum key, headphones, and a cable. Basically, all you need to get started. Now, like I said, we did a full review of this, but let's just look at the module for 1 minute here. As you can see, you have several features. I don't know if this camera is that great because of the lighting in here, and it's always hard to film these LEDs. But anyway, here we go. You have bass and treble, right? And you have a menu button, record button. You have your drum kit here, coach, which is a coaching feature, which offers some things we might check out. Click, you know, your click track, your metronome. Song function, so you can play along with some stuff like that, some of their pre-built songs, and some function buttons here, right? You also have ambience and a volume control. On the back, you have your USB out so that you can go into your software if you have a DAW and you want to trigger Easy Drummer or some cool VST to get better sounds. You also have an option for another crash cymbal here if you want to add another cymbal to the set. You have separate left and right mono outs in the back here. So if you want to just use these sounds but record them to your software, you can do that. And lastly, you have an aux in here and the headphones. So aux in, obviously you can bring in tracks of your own through YouTube or any software, minus drums probably if you're playing to it, and play along with them. You can also use headphones to practice silently, which is pretty obvious. So I'm just going to go over a few features here that will differ from the DED-80 because the module is more simple or more simplified in that. So let's start with the ambience, right? If I just hit a snare, you'll see what this is. No ambience, right? I'm going to crank it up slowly. That's all the way maxed out. I don't know that you'd want to do that. It even does it to the kick, right? So, but if I did it halfway, and if I play a simple beat, right? All right, and I can take it down again. Right there too, see? So that's a choke, right? I can do cymbal choke. Also, I have dual zone cymbals here, which the DED-80 won't have, meaning that I can crash my ride, right? So this is the bell, but I can also. So I have dual zone. Plus, you see, I can choke my cymbal, which is something you're not going to be able to do in this other kit. So these are the differences. In terms of the velocity layers, let's hear the snare, right? Okay, that's pretty much the max. And we have a dual zone snare drum, meaning that we have the rim. I've changed the kit to Funk 2 because it had more of a rim sound, right? So for instance, right? right? As opposed to, okay, makes sense? Now I'm not gonna go through all the sounds because again, we have an entire video with this drum set. So for now, I'm gonna check out some of the coaching features. So the first coaching feature is time check, right? We can change the metronome setting on this, but right now it's just gonna play a click and it's gonna see how accurate I am, right? Now that one said good on the screen here. I don't know if you were able to see it, but it said good. If I were playing behind the beat, if I was dragging too much, it'll say slow. If I'm rushing, it should say fast. This next coaching feature will have a metronome and then it'll cut out and I'll have to play without it for a minute and then it'll start again to see if I'm able to keep time while the metronome is not there. Cool. So I was pretty much on it, and you can adjust the tempo. Obviously it gets harder if you make the tempo slower because there's more space in between the clicks. The last feature is called auto up and down, and what it does is it has a click and it gradually gets faster. I believe like every 4 measures or something like that. So if you're doing paradiddles, for instance, something like that, you want to check your rudiments and be able to do them at a faster speed. It kind of just keeps going up and then eventually it'll start slowing down every 4 measures. That's what it does. As far as the songs go, here's one. We did all that in the last video tutorial, so I'm not going to go crazy. But basically there are a bunch of demo songs. They're very basic MIDI demo songs. You can take the drums out so that you can play along with them instead of having the drums in, which really doesn't help if you're trying to play drums. But my opinion is that what I would do is just use the aux in and play to, more polished tracks if I was practicing anyway. The thing about this kit, and again, it's in the other video, is that you can replace sounds, make some user presets. There are a bunch of sounds in here, and adjust a lot of the parameters of the drums themselves, to tailor your experience, whether it's on the kit or going out into MIDI. The other thing that's different about the DED-200 and the 80, which we're gonna get to, is this has a real pedal, as you can see here. It comes with a real beater and its trigger, right? So I can get different dynamic levels here, right? So I'm gonna go soft to loud. As far as the hi-hat pedal, it's this, right? It's just a pedal. There's no hi-hat stand, but that's to be expected in this price range. This drum set has a pretty standard rack construction, kind of like my V drum set. Meaning that you can move a lot of different things around, adjust the heights independently and do all that. That being said, the DED-80 is more fixed, which you'll see when we get there. So let's go over and check that one out. But before we do, I've plugged this thing in to my DAW with my drum VST, and we're gonna see how this thing sounds if we trigger drums on my computer. Okay, pardon the mess around me. I'm moving around in different parts of this room. I'm trying to set everything up at the same time, so it's kind of a disaster. There's cables everywhere, there's stuff everywhere. Let's continue. This is the DED-80 now right here, and this is less expensive than the DED-200. Just for comparison's sake, because I didn't mention this, the DED-200, which I was just at, is about 400-ish. This is about 250-ish. Depending on deals, depending on whatever. And I know that as of the filming of this video, Black Friday is coming up, so I'm sure there'll be something special. This is a much different kit, right? You can see from the overhead angle, this is on 1 bar, so the toms mount to 1 bar. They're not independently, you can raise them, the angle of them, but you can't raise them higher or lower, okay? The snare you can raise and lower, and the floor tom I can raise and lower on 1 bar here. These cymbals you can raise and lower. They are on fixed mounts, I guess you'd say, the metal mounts. So they are kind of on a specific angle, and you can't bring them forward or back. They just go up and down. Now this is a very compact kit, much more compact than the DED-200. So, depending on your needs or your age, this could be, better or not better. So let's talk about the module first. The module is much more simple than the DED-200, right? But this is one, right? Meaning this is the first kit. Let's just start there, right? Now you can see that the cymbal isn't chokeable. Okay, that's where it dies naturally. Also, these are one zone, single zone cymbals, right? There's no crash on this ride. No matter where I hit it, it's just gonna be a ride sound, okay? Like a bell sound. All right, so it's a much more simplified version, okay? The kick drum pedal is different too. It's not your standard beater, which we had on the DED-200 and a kick pad to trigger, right? This is just a pedal. Just like the hi-hat pedal, which is right here. Okay, they're the same exact pedal, meaning that there's no dynamics in this pedal. If I press it light, it's gonna be the same volume as if I press it hard. I'm gonna go through the kits in a second, but I wanna say that you can't make your own user kits or customize them, right? What you hear is what you get. You have your kits and they are what they are. You can adjust some things like the sensitivity in this module, but I'm not gonna do it right now. I'm just gonna play it like it is. So there are some parameters you can change, but like I said, you can't mix and match snare drums or, stuff like that. Here's kit 2. And one thing you might notice from my overhead camera is that this headphone is kind of in the way here. I have a short headphone cable right now, and I'm lazy and I don't feel like changing it. So it might go over the snare drum or something like that. But basically, I would just get a longer cable or an extender and I wouldn't have this issue. But the module is here, it's in front as opposed to on the side, like on that kit, the DED-200, and my Roland. The modules are on my left side there. This one is right in the center of the kit. That's where it mounts. And so, the headphone wire is gonna be this way if you need it. Here's kit 3. Let's just go through the sounds on this. That's a dynamic range, not as much as that one, right? Not as much as the DED-200, but you still have some. Same here. So you have a few layers. Here we have number 4. I'm not even gonna play beat, I'm just gonna play the surfaces. Next. Next. One thing to mention before we move on, the snare is not dual zone, right? It doesn't have a rim. It's just a snare sound. So that is something to consider too. All right, so that's the 14 kits that we have here. Now we do have some features on this. It's a smaller module, so you have to get through it differently. But if you press select, you can get to the click. Right now it's 120. That's 120 BPM. I can raise or lower it depending on what I want to practice to help my time, strengthen my time. If you press click, there you go. I can play along to it. I won't now, but you get the idea. If I press select again and get to coach, we can do 3 coaching features. Just like the other module, it's just that you can't see it the same way because it's a smaller module, so it's a little different. The first just says C1. The other module, the DED-200, says what it is. This you refer to the manual. It tells you C1 is a time check. So if we press the click, it'll tell me if I am right with the beat or if I am a little fast or a little slow. It does it with cymbals. So here, check it. That's a circle. See, if I'm behind, see that? So when I was behind, it has like a little caret on the back, and if I'm ahead, it'll have a little caret on the front. Anyway, that's how it does it instead of saying behind, fast, or whatever it's gonna say, fast, slow, and good. It just does it with characters. The next coaching function is the same as the DED-200, but again, implemented slightly differently. But yeah, it'll have a click and it'll drop out. And I can play to it, right? Watch. Make sense? So you can check your time, and obviously if you make the tempo slower, you have to keep your time longer without the metronome. C3 is the same thing as the DED-200 again, which is that it will be a slower tempo. You practice something and every 4 beats, it goes up in tempo. And so if you're practicing, like I said, rudiments or something, you can keep escalating the tempo, and then eventually it'll start going down again in increments of 4 measures, I believe. I'm not gonna demonstrate that here. Now the next function is the songs here. I believe the songs are the same as the demo songs on the DED-200. You can take out the drums. It's not as straightforward on this. You have to like long press select in order to take the drums out of the demo songs to play to them. But I'm not gonna do that here. Again, this has an aux in on the back. I don't know if I discussed what's in the back, but you do have an aux in, and which means, you know, you can plug in something from your laptop or something like that and just have a music -1 or, you know, something without drums that you can play along to that'll sound better than the demo songs anyway. So speaking about the back here, we have a stereo out, which I'm using right now to bring into my software so you can hear what this thing sounds like. Also, it has a separate headphone out, which I am using right now to listen to this. And it has a USB out and the aux in. And just like the other drum set we just talked about, this USB out will make a MIDI port in my DAW, and I can use this to trigger any of my drum samples, which could be something that's convenient for any music producer at home. So given the parameters we have here, let's still see what this sounds like if I put it into my DAW using my drum samples. Let's say I'm producing a track. This is what I have as my MIDI input method, and let's see how it goes. All right, so my thoughts here are as follows. Let's start with this DED-80 because I'm sitting right here. This is a very small kit, so it could be useful if you're in an apartment and you really need something that can fold up, because this thing can fold up into a tiny space. That would be cool. Also, if you're on a really tight budget, this is about 250 bucks, like I said. This comes with a throne too. I forgot to say that about the other one. They both come with drum thrones. I mean, you get everything you need to start playing, right? But this is really inexpensive. Now, if you really want to start playing drums, like you're an aspiring drummer, you're going to want something with a real kick pedal, you know, so you can get dynamics out of that, which, you know, Donner's DED-200 has, and also their backbeat the Donner Backbeat, which we reviewed as well. That's got some more pro features. But the mesh pads on these and the DED-200, they feel pretty good. They have a decent bounce to them, which is, similar to real drums. What I would say about the DED-80, given it's kind of a fixed position, like I said, with the cymbals and with everything, although you can lower things, is that this is really cool for a kid. I have an 8-year-old child, and I was showing him how to play on this the other day, and he was really into it because I could lower everything to his height, and it was easy for him to get around, and I could show him the coordination of the instrument, which is a really important thing. Drums are deep, and I am a multi-instrumentalist. I don't claim to be a professional drummer by any means. I use digital drums or electronic drums in my studio to play beats into my productions, and then I usually fix them in MIDI. That's pretty much what I do. So I could also see this being used in the studio. If someone wanted to make beats in a really simple, compact way, they could do that. But you have to know that you don't have a lot of volume or velocity control, and you don't have that extra zone on the snare and some choke abilities and things like that. But you could get basic beats in, especially if you're doing like hip hop or something like that, and you want to just manipulate it in the box afterwards. You could totally get your concept in on this, and it'll get to the computer. But like I said, I think this is a cool one for kids if you don't want to spend a lot of money. You want to see if a child is interested in music, see if they can get their coordination together, see if they can hit the snare and the hi-hat at the same time, maybe use their feet. Of course, when they advance, they're going to need to upgrade to something else and start getting actual touch and feel and figuring out the kit, and maybe hopefully to an acoustic kit. But this is a cool starting step. As for the DED-200, we spoke about this in the first video when we reviewed it, but there's a lot to like for about 400 bucks there. You have everything you need to start playing right away, and it's more of a traditional drum experience, minus the hi-hat, which is important, but at $400, you're not gonna get a full hi-hat stand. That's for much more expensive kits. Even my V-drum kit doesn't have a real hi-hat stand, and it costs way, way more than that. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section. Please subscribe to the channel. We always need more subscribers, and see you next time.